Hello everyone, I am Durga Sonjanya from Department of ECE, MLR Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. So I am going to give the video lectures for the subject Embedded System Design. Our today's topic is mailboxes, message queues and pipes. So these are comes under the unit 4. And next summary of previous session. In previous session we have discussed the different types of task scheduling algorithms and semaphores and mutex and task synchronization. So in present session we are going to discuss about mailboxes, message queues, pipes and signal handlers. So mailboxes are nothing but these are used for sending messages to a task. So here in operating system there are number of processes are currently executing in the operating system. So continuously number of processes are going on in the operating system. So here whenever any message sent to the process by the IO device or by the processor, so that means if any event occurred, so which is having the highest priority, so to preempt the process and to enter into the another process, we need to send message to that process. So by using the mailboxes, we are sending our messages to the processes. Here the mailbox is used to send message to a particular task. Here it is basically a pointer size variable. So the task or ISR can deposit and receive messages through the mailbox. Here from using the interrupt service routine. So interrupt service routine is nothing but when any current process is executing, when any event occurred, so that process will stop its execution and a new process enters for execution. So that new process, the program or the process which is occurred in the new process is called as interrupt service routine. So whenever any interrupt occurred to the current process, the program which is executed for that interrupt is known as interrupt service routine. So here this interrupt service routine and the main task, so these two are having their communication by using these mailboxes. So a task looking for a message from an empty mailbox is blocked and placed on a waiting list for a time. So when there is no message in the mailbox and no task or no ISR will have the message for both, so then that mailbox is considered to be in the blocked state. So when there is no message in the mailbox, it is considered as in the blocked state and it is moved for a waiting list. So when any message entered by the task or ISR, then so that mailbox is having the message and it is go for ready state. So which indicates that when any message is sent by the mailbox to the scheduler, so it indicates that that task is having the highest priority. So when a message is sent to the mailbox, the highest priority task waiting for the message is given the message in the priority based mailbox, or the first task to request the message is given to the message in FIFO based mailbox. So here there are so many tasks are there, so many processes are there, each process will send message to the mailbox, or there are number of interrupt service routines are there, which ISR will send one message to mailbox. So therefore there are number of messages are there in the mailbox. So which one will be sent first and which one will be received first will based on the priority. So the task which is having higher priority, so will receive the message first. In the same way, the task which is having the higher priority will have the possibility to send the message first. So a task or ISR will be used for sending messages to the mailbox. So the functions which are used for, so here from task to task communication will be through the mailbox. Here from one task to another task, the communication will be established by using this mailbox. Here post is nothing but sending a message. Send is nothing but receiving a message. So when any mailbox is in the post state, that means it is available for sending messages. So it will block the receiving state. So when it enters into the pend state, it will be having the possibility for receiving the messages only. It will block the sending state for some time. So here the functions which are used for using this mailbox are create a mailbox, delete a mailbox, query a mailbox, post a message into the mailbox, or read a message from the mailbox. Post a message is nothing but sending messages to the mailbox. Read a message from the mailbox means receiving a message from the mailbox. So it is a special memory location in which one or more tags are used to transfer the data. So when any data which is moved from one task to another task, those are transferred by using this mailbox. So mailbox means some memory will be allotted for the mailbox. So whatever the data which is used by task 1 can be shared by task 2 by using this mailbox. So task 1 can send the common data or shared data into the mailbox. So and again the same data will be utilized by the task 2. Here the data transfer between task 1 and task 2 can be established by using the mailbox. So therefore the synchronization will be established in the operating system to avoid the problem of semaphores or task synchronization or deadlock. So these problems will be avoided in the operating system by using these mailboxes. Here the tasks rely on the kernel to allow them write to the mailbox via post operation. So by using the post operation we can send the messages. That means write operation will be occurred by the mailbox. Here the read operation is done by the pend. The mailbox can contain only one message at a time. So that means we can have only one message at a time. Either we can receive the message from task 1 or we can send the message to task 2. At a time only one message will be available at mailbox and one operation will be done by the mailbox. Therefore the synchronization will be achieved. So there is no need of all the processes will be at a time and all will be in the starvation problem will be occurred. So those are not occurred in the operating system. So therefore only one message at a time will be available for mailbox. So next one is message queue. So this is another type of communication for task synchronization. So here it is also using the message queue. Here by using the mailbox, so we can have the possibility for only one message. So we can send one message at a time or we can receive one message at a time. If there is any task either for receiving messages, so it should be in a waiting state until the completion of the post operation of this mailbox. If any task is waiting for post operation, so but currently the mailbox is in the pend operation, so it has to be in the waiting state until the completion of this pend operation. But by using this message queue, we can send or receive one or more messages. Here we have only one message. So for one or more messages, we are going for the message queue. Message queue is nothing but it is having the number of memory locations. In mailbox, we have only one memory location. So, but for message queue, the number of memory locations are allotted. Therefore, the number of messages can be received or number of messages can be transcended. So, message queues are used to send or receive one or more messages to a task. Therefore, these are used for establishing the inter-task communication. So from task 1 to task 2. So, in between these two tasks, the communication will be established by using this message queue. So, the task 1 can send their data to task 2 and task 2 can send their data to task 1. So, basically queue is nothing but an array of mailboxes. So, the tasks and ISRs can send and receive messages to queue through services provided by the kernel. Here, whatever the message sent by task 1 is entered into the queue and like that. So, all the messages from all the tasks from some other tasks. So, whatever the messages sent by each task will be entered into the queue and from that queue one by one message, all the messages will be transferred to the another task which are having for receiving possibility. So extraction of messages from queue follows the FIFO structure. So this queue follows the FIFO structure. FIFO structure means first in, first out. So whatever the message first entered into the queue will be first transferred either for send operation or received operation. So whatever the message first entered into the queue will be served first. So here, so whatever the message first entered into the queue will be first sent and first received. So at the time of creating a queue, the queue is given a name or ID, queue length, sending task and waiting list, and receiving task waiting list. Here we have seen that first in, first out will be the algorithm used for this queue. So here each queue, here there are number of message queues are there. So therefore for each task, here by using this message queue we can send or receive one or more messages. Therefore for each message, for each task message, so one ID will be assigned and the queue length will be defined. So depending on the queue length only, that number of messages will be available in that queue, and the sending, waiting list and receiving waiting list. So these are all will be created at the time of creation of a process. So each queue can be configured as a fixed size or variable size. So the next functions which are used for managing this message queues in the OS are the creating a queue, deleting a queue, flushing a queue, or post a message in the queue, or post a message in the front of a queue, or read message from queue, or broadcast a message, or show the queue information, or show the queue waiting list. Here front of a queue means here the queue is having the two ends, one is front end and one is the rear end. So whatever the data entered into the front end, so that will be retrieved first from the rear end. Therefore here post a message in the queue from front end or from rear end, or creating a queue and deleting a queue and post the messages through the queue. So these are all the functions managed by the message queues in the OS. So these are the applications of the message queue. So these are mostly used for taking the input from the keyboard. So here, and we know that whatever the key pressed in the keyboard. So if we want to type MLR in the keyboard, so first we have to click the M button in the key, M key in the keyboard. So first key will be displayed. So that means whatever the key entered first will be displayed first. Therefore, it is an example for message queue method. So to display the output in the same way, first M will be displayed and next L will be displayed and next R will be displayed. So whatever the data entered first will be displayed first. Therefore, it is the examples for message queues. And next one is pipes. So here in message queues we have seen that whatever the data entered in that queue, so whatever the data first entered will be first retrieved. So that means either we can send data to message queue or we can receive data from the message queue. Only one way of transfer of data will be possible through message queue. But here pipes are used for transferring the messages in two ways. So pipes are kernel objects. Those are used to exchange the unstructured data and facilitate synchronization among tasks. Here the pipe is used for exchanging the data. So in between two tasks only, task 1 and task 2, if there is a pipe in between these two, so only task 1 can send message to task 2 only, and task 2 can send message to task 1 only. So there is no other tasks are there. So only in between these two tasks only the communication will be enabled by using these pipes. Here a pipe is in unidirectional data exchange facility. So here this is the pipe. So from this pipe here these two tasks are only having the possibility for communication. So here the functions used for calling the pipes are creating a pipe, open a pipe, close a pipe, read the data from pipe and write the data to the pipe. So here we are saving all the data from task 1 in the pipe, and one by one those are received by the task 2. So here only this is unidirectional data transferring method, but is communication will be enabled only in between those two tasks only. So here there are two descriptors are there, one for each end of pipe. So that is one for reading and another for writing. So there are two descriptors are enabled for each pipe. So one way will be allowed only for reading operation, and one descriptor is allowed only for writing operation. And data is written in one descriptor and read operation will be done in another descriptor. Here the pipe is having the unstructured byte stream, therefore it follows the FIFO order. So it provides a simple data flow facility, therefore the reader becomes blocked when the pipe is empty. So here when the pipe is empty, we know that there is no possibility for reading operation, there is no data available in the pipe. So therefore when the pipe is empty, the reading descriptor will be blocked. In the same way, when the pipe is full, the writing descriptor will be blocked. So in the same way, the writer becomes blocked when the pipe is full. So here the pipe is used to exchange a data between data producing tasks and the data consuming tasks. So in between these two tasks, it is acting as a exchanging data between the two tasks. Next one is signal handler. So a signal is nothing but an event indicator. So signal is nothing but an event indicator. Signal is the interrupt occurred in the process. So when any interrupt occurred to the process, it is indicated as a signal, and it is generated when an event occurs. So it diverts the signal receiver from its normal execution path and triggers the associated asynchronous processing. So whenever an interrupt occurred to the process, so it stops its current execution and enters into the interrupt service routine. So which is called as, so it starts the normal execution and triggers into the another process which is called as signal handler. So the difference between the signal and normal interrupt is that the signals are occurred by the software interrupts. Here, so what is the difference between the normal signal and interrupt? So interrupt is nothing but the hardware interrupts. There are hardware interrupts are there. That means we need to give the signal, either low signal or signal to the or high signal to the particular pin, interrupt pin of the processor. But here signal is nothing but software interrupts. So by using the instructions like divide by 0 or any stop instruction or wait instruction. So by using the software interrupts, we are going to stop the current execution which is called as signal. So which are generated via execution of some software within the system. So here the normal interrupts are usually generated by arrival of interrupt signal on external pins. So as I have discussed previously, for any microcontroller or for any processor, if any interrupt is handled by the particular pin, so either low signal or high signal applied to that particular pin of the hardware part of microcontroller, so then it is comes as interrupt. And in the same way, if the software within the system generates the interrupt, it is called as signal. So the number and type of signals defined in both system dependent and RTOS dependent. So here the signal which is called as software interrupt, so it is called as event occurred by that software interrupt, and it is depend on the using operating system. So whatever the real-time operating system we have used for that processor and the processor architecture. So that is that software interrupts will be depends on the system dependent or RTOS dependent. Each signal is associated with an event that can be So here those signals can be either unintentional or intentional. Unintentional means any illegal instruction occurred or executed in the execution flow of the operation. So if any illegal instruction, so like divide by 0. So if any illegal instruction is encountered during the program execution, so that is called as unintentional signal. So intentional signal means when any event or when any event or interrupt, software interrupt will be occurred for stop the present task and enters into the another task. So that function or the instructions or the program is used for stop the current execution is known as intentional signal. While a task can specify particular actions to undertake when a signal arrives. So here task has no control over when it receives signal. The signal arrives after appear quite random. So that means here that particular task only can specify whether the current execution will be continued by that task or by the interrupt service routine. So based on the software interrupt occurred, it stops its execution and enters into the interrupt service routine. So this is about the signal. Here it may be depends on the task and ISR. Here any signal enter into the, so any signal interrupts the main process. So it stops its execution and it enters into the interrupt signal service routine, and after completion of its signal routine, it again come back to the main process. So when a signal arrives, a task is diverted from its normal execution path and corresponding signal routine is invoked. Here the signal routine, signal handler and asynchronous event handler and asynchronous signal routine. So these are all same. Here depends on the event or signal occurred. If any hardware interrupt is occurred, we call that as event handler. So if any software interrupt is occurred, it is called as signal handler. So depending on the event occurred or depending on the operating system used, the names will be interchanged. So here each signal will be identified by an integer value which is having this. So that means here whenever any process is in the created state, the signals are identified with unique ID numbers. Here the functions which are used for managing a signal handler are install a signal handler and remove a signal handler, send a signal to another task, block a signal or unblock a blocked signal, or ignore a signal. So these are the functions used by the operating system to manage the signal handler. Here whenever any signal enters into the process OS, so it stops the current process execution and it enters into the signal handler service routine. So after completion of this service routine, again the execution flow will come back to the main process. This is about the signal handlers. So in this session, we have discussed what are the topics covered in the previous session and what is the mailbox, what are the advantages on mailbox, and what are the message queues, what are the differences between the mailbox and message queue, and what are pipes, how can we communicate the tasks by using the pipes, how the communication will be enabled between the tasks by using the pipes, and what about the signal and signal handler. So these are the topics covered in the present session. Thank you.